Hello friends, this is from Chambers. In the past video, we have talked about, the absorption part of pharmacokinetics. And now in this video, we will be talking about the bioavailability. So what do we mean? What do we mean by the bioavailability? So let me share the screen and we understand it. It's a very nice, very easy concept if we can have some concentration. So if we see bioavailability is something that how much amount of drug is able to reach my systemic circulation, how much amount of drug is able to reach my systemic circulation in the form which I am desiring. I mean the desired form. So for example, you want a drug. For example, this is a drug. There is a drug A. The drug is circular. The drug is circular. And once you are giving it to the patient, you want it to be reached in the same way as it looks like. In the A, you want the A effect. You want the A effect. But what is happening once the patient is, for example, the patient is taking it through the oral cavity. He is taking per oral. Okay. He is taking PO. What is happening is this A drug is getting, it will go into the stomach, and after that it will go into the hepatic portal system, and after that it will reach the liver. Once it reaches the liver, this is your esophagus. Let us draw like this. You have taken, okay, per oral, and it is going into your stomach, and then it is going into the, once it is going from the intestines, it's going to get absorbed, then reaches the liver. It reaches the liver. Okay. So what is happening is, once it reaches the liver will do a metabolism. We have read in the previous topic that liver will metabolize the drugs. So once it goes into the liver will start metabolizing it. If the liver is converting this A into this form, that means I am losing some percentage. I am losing some percentage. It is not now this A, it is now a small a. I am giving an example. Okay. I am giving an example. So if I am giving a drug A and it is getting converted to A, small a, that means the drug which I want, the drug which I want is not actually the drug which is coming in the circulation. So because of the liver, it will go into the circulation now, and I have a drug in the circulation. That means some amount of drug has been destroyed. That means some amount of drug has been metabolized, and that amount of drug, I'm not getting 100% thing. I'm not getting a cent% thing. I'm getting some part of that because the liver is metabolized it. Whatever you give through the mouth, through the oral cavity, it will ultimately reach the liver, isn't it? The liver will do its metabolism as it is supposed to do. So what is this called? So what amount of drug has reached the circulation, the systemic circulation, I mean. So what amount of drug has reached the systemic circulation, we say that is the bioavailability. That means I am taking a drug. If I am taking a drug through the oral cavity, it will go through the first pass metabolism, isn't it? Will it go through the first pass metabolism? Who is the first pass metabolism? It is the liver, isn't it? Or I can say it is a pre-systemic metabolism, means before going into the system, someone is metabolizing something. So I will say first pass metabolism is done by liver, isn't it? Are we clear? So liver is doing a first pass metabolism, meaning thereby that there will be some amount of drug which will not reach the systemic circulation. Okay, that means by this way I can understand. I am talking actually about this thing, that I have a drug here and it is going into my circulation. That means it will depend on the absorption. It will depend on the absorption also, isn't it? Absorption will define what will be the bioavailability and also the first pass metabolism. Can I say that absorption and first pass metabolism are determining my bioavailability? They are going to be the factors. Can I say they are going to be the factors? Can we contribute? Yeah, we can say that, isn't it? You can say. So that means in the process of bioavailability, I need to, I need to have a confirmation that is it soluble or not? Is the absorption happening or not? And also, if a drug is getting very highly first pass metabolized, if our liver is doing such a bad thing to that drug that the drug is not able to reach the circulation, and even if it is reaching the circulation, it is reaching in what form? It has changed. It has changed. But from the definition of bioavailability, I mean the fraction of the drug that reaches my systemic circulation in an unchanged form. I want it in the unchanged form. I don't want the changed form. So that unchanged form will tell me the bioavailability. So to have the knowledge of this bioavailability, why it is important? Because we have seen certain drugs, if they are given through the, if they are if they are taken through the peroral route, they will undergo highly, they will be highly metabolized. They will be highly metabolized. Okay, so you should know some drugs which are highly metabolized by the liver. So will you give those drugs to the oral cavity, or you will give it for some other routes? Yes, we need answers. So will you give that drug through the oral cavity or through some other routes? Very nice answer. We'll give through the other routes. Will we bypass the liver? Will we bypass the liver? Will we put it at that site that so that we can bypass the liver? Because liver is doing a high first pass metabolism to these drugs. I want answers from everyone, please. We are in a live class. So we will try to bypass the liver so that I don't get the drug to get, changed. My drug should not get changed. So what I will do is I should have the knowledge as being a doctor of the drugs which I will not be giving through the oral cavity but through some other route. So which drugs are those? There are many mnemonics for this. So the drug groups are nitrates, hydrocortisone, lignocaine, propranolol. Propranolol is a beta blocker. Salbutamol, beta 2 agonist. It's a bronchodilator. Salbutamol, terbutaline, albuterol, salmeterol, formoterol. These are all what? They're all beta blockers. Sorry, they're beta 2 agonists. So they will be bronchodilators. I'll be teaching you in ANS. Okay. So morphine. Morphine. Is morphine an acidic drug or basic drug? Morphine is a basic drug. Okay. You should remember. And what is the way to remember? There are many mnemonics. So they say nitrates have large pre. What is bioequivalence? What do you mean by bioequivalence? Bioequivalence means, for example, we have, for example, I have a drug in the market. For example, I take phenytoin. Okay, I take a drug phenytoin. Okay, I take a drug phenytoin. Now this is a salt, isn't it? Phenytoin is a salt. You have read phenytoin. It's an anti-epileptic drug. For the time being, I'm saying an anti-epileptic drug. So it's an anti-epileptic drug, AED. Okay. But you go to one company. This company writes the name on the drug as I think Dilantin. So Dilantin is a company. One company is making it as Dilantin, and another company makes it by the name of Aptoin. Aptoin. So phenytoin, they are making it in two companies are there. So Dilantin is one company and another is Aptoin. Now what is bioequivalence? Bioequivalence tells me, now you are confused. You will say, sir, which one should I buy? Should I buy the Dilantin or Aptoin? Both have phenytoin. Both have phenytoin. So how will you choose? Now you are taking, for example, I have told you that I have a drug C. So this drug, I say C is a standard. I say C is a standard. But you tell me, sir, I want to buy this Dilantin. And you will tell me, sir, is Dilantin good? What I will go is I will check the bioequivalence. Bioequivalence says, the principle of bioequivalence says, if the difference, for example, this is a C drug, so C minus Dilantin. If the difference in their bioavailability, I have to take the same dose. Remember, You should remember some points about this thing. You take the same dose. So if you take 50 mg of drug C, or I take these two, let us compare these two drugs. I take 50 mg of this and 50 mg of this. Okay. And I take them in the tablet form. I write both tablet. I have to take both of them in the tablet form. So if I have 50 mg of this, I have to take 50 mg of this. I have to take tablet of this and tablet of this. If the difference between both of them, difference between these is less than 20%, if the bioavailability difference is less than 20%, we say these two drugs are bioequivalent. We say these two drugs are bioequivalent. Okay. So dilantin and eptoin will be only equivalent if their bioavailability is less than 20%. So what is this equivalence, sir? If they have less than 20%, how they are equivalent? We are saying in the way of bioavailability. So are we attaining the same plasma concentrations? That's why we call them, they are biologically equivalent. Biologically equivalent. Are we able to understand? That's why we say bioequivalence. So they are giving me the same bioavailability. Okay. So we have finished right now this pharmacokinetics, the absorption part. The absorption, it was having some, some loopholes which I filled in this video. So now we start with the second ADME. We said in the previous video that it is ADME study. So A is absorption, we have finished. Now we go to the distribution. Okay. Now let us talk about distribution. So distribution, what is the meaning of distribution? So can anyone of tell me what is distribution? So we say distribution is a process. Distribution is a process where the drug is able to get distributed from my circulation, from my systemic circulation to my tissues. So we know from the physiology that this is the blood supply and these are my tissues. These are my cells. These are my tissues around it. These are my cells and tissues around it. Okay. Cells and tissues around it. From the systemic circulation, I have to give the drug to my tissues and cells. Isn't it? This process is known as distribution. So from your systemic circulation going into the tissues, this is the process of distribution. And this will be having some factors governing it. There must be some factors which must govern it. Now there are two terms. One is distribution and another is VD. VD is known as the volume of distribution. VD is just a denotion. We are showing something that VD. Okay. So I'll be discussing this VD in some, this is actually this VD is not actually known as the volume of distribution. This should be called an apparent volume of distribution. This should be called an apparent volume of distribution. Okay. So what is distribution is I have to bring the drug into my tissues. That is the main purpose. That means there should be some factors which should be governing it. Now tell me what is present in the plasma. Plasma, there is a plasma proteins, isn't it? Plasma proteins are there. And these plasma proteins, once you give a drug, they bind to the plasma protein. Okay. They will bind to the, isn't it? So that means if someone is having, if a drug is having a high plasma protein binding capacity, that means it will remain in more time in the circulation. Isn't it? That means it will remain in the circulation for a longer time. If a drug is having a larger plasma protein binding capacity, it will remain for a long time circulating in the blood, isn't it? The plasma protein will be acting as a storage, a natural storage, because drugs are getting bound to the plasma protein. I have drugs which have been bound to plasma protein, isn't it? So what is happening is that means the free fraction of my drug will remain constant. My free fraction will remain constant. I will be having a constant level of drug. Okay. So that means if I have an albumin, I should know that once this albumin is in the blood, albumin, with this albumin, I will be binding a drug. Once I give a drug, it binds to albumin. And if you want to convert this albumin, you will say albumin plus protein, sorry, not protein, albumin plus drug. If a drug is getting dissociated from the plasma protein, I will say albumin plus drug. So now tell me who is active? Is albumin plus a drug active or drug in a free state? This drug is in a free state in the blood once it is getting dissociated, or it is present more, in a free state. So which form will be active? Which form will be active, please? Yeah, free state of the drug is active. Once you are binding a drug to the plasma, plasma protein, your drug action will be inactive. Your drug will not be active. So we say in bound form, we have an inactive drug. So bound is equal to inactive. Make a principle like this. And free is equal to active. Bound is equal to inactive. Free is equal to active. Now tell me one thing. Like you are preparing for your postgraduate entrance exam. This is a one plasma protein. Okay. And it has one site. For example, it has one site. Now there are so many drugs. This is drug A, this is drug B, this is drug C. And these drugs, all the drugs want to bind at this point. These three drugs want to bind on this plasma protein. Okay, this albumin. So will there be a competition like a seat in the entrance examination? There will be a competition. So the person who is more powerful, the person with the more knowledge will actually attain the seat, isn't it? It will bind to this plasma protein, isn't it? So that means if I am giving a drug which is a competitor of the other drug, that means what it will do, it will displace this drug. Now if this is powerful, if drug A is powerful than drug B, that means A will displace the drug B from the plasma protein. A will displace the drug B from the plasma protein, meaning thereby I will have a more free state of drug B. So when I increase the free state of drug B, that means I will have dash state of the drug. That means I will have dash state of the drug. Active state of the drug. Active state of the drug will increase because this drug is getting free now. This drug is getting free now from this place. Okay, my dears. So remember, once you are giving a competitor drug which is having a competition for that plasma protein binding site, will will get increased. Its free state will get increased if it is having a strong competitor for that plasma protein binding site. That means the drug will be displaced from the place, from that from this site, and it will get more in free concentrations. Okay, can I tell you an example? You know, we say warfarin and sulfonamides should not be given together. Why? Why? Because sulfonamide is a competitor. Sulfonamide is a strong competitor. Sulfonamide is a strong competitor. What it does is, if this is a plasma protein binding site, this is a plasma protein and it is a binding site. So if warfarin was already attached with the plasma protein, now once I am giving in the blood circulation, I am giving what? I am giving I am giving a sulfonamide. I am giving a sulfonamide, and this sulfonamide will displace this W. So the W will increase in more in the free state. Will I get a warfarin toxicity or not? Will I get a warfarin toxicity or not? My dears, can I check the warfarin toxicity? Yeah, I will be having a warfarin toxicity. Okay, easy. Can I give another example? Yeah, I have another example. If you want me to tell, I can say. Okay, I have another example. We never, if you know what happens, if there is a newborn or there is a fetus and I am giving that person, or in the fetal life, I'm giving a sulfonamide. What happens if you give sulfonamide? You know who is the carrier for unconjugated bilirubin? Who is the carrier for unconjugated bilirubin? It's the albumin. So unconjugated bilirubin will be already attached here. Unconjugated bilirubin will be already attached here. UCB, 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 UCB. What will happen once you give off sulfonamide? The sulfonamide is again a strong competitor. It will displace this unconjugated bilirubin. So you will have more sulfonamides attached to the plasma protein and more amount of unconjugated bilirubin in the blood. This will cause unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia. Now tell me, unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia in the fetus, is it permeable or not? Will it get deposited in the brain or not? Will it cause kernicterus? So this causes kernicterus. So this combination is also wrong if you are giving a sulfonamide. Okay. So it can cause kernicterus and also bilirubin encephalopathy. Bilirubin encephalopathy. So this is the concept behind this. And remember one concept from this, I remember, if how will you explain if something is able to cross the placenta? Remember a principle: if you have a drug which is able to cross the blood brain barrier, if you have a drug which can cross a blood brain barrier, remember that yeah, it will also cause the also cross the placenta. It will also cross the placenta. Okay. Okay, my dears, are we able to understand? Okay, so in the neonate, don't give these two combinations. Okay, so sulfonamides and bilirubin. So that means who was, can we say that plasma, on the plasma protein binding capacity, on the ppb, our distribution will depend. So so tell me one thing: if I have a more ppb, if I have a more ppb means if I have a more plasma protein binding capacity, that means I will bind more to the plasma protein albumin. That means I will be less in the free state. That means I will have less distribution. That means my distribution will also decrease, isn't it? Or I can say, if a drug is more lipid soluble, that means it will cross the blood vessel membrane more. That means it has the high volume of distribution, high VD we can say. That means it has a high VD. If a drug is water soluble, if a drug is water soluble means ionic form of drug, means it won't cross the cell, that membrane, meaning thereby I will have less or lower distribution. So the drugs which are highly lipid soluble will have higher distribution, while as the drugs which are less lipid soluble or which are more water soluble will have lower distribution, isn't it? Now I was telling you about the warfarin. Warfarin is a no high PBB, plasma protein binding. Or if I talk about benzodiazepines, diazepam, midazolam, lorazepam, isn't it? Alprazolam, they are all having a high plasma protein binding capacity. That means they will have less volume of distribution, isn't it? Or I have calcium channel blockers, or I have a furosemide, loop diuretic furosemide, or I have digoxin or digitoxin. They all are what? They have high protein, plasma protein binding capacity, meaning thereby they will have less volume of distribution. They will have less volume of distribution. Okay. Tell me one thing. This is the blood vessel. I have this plasma protein and drug is highly bound. Can this drug pass through this? No, it is actually bound to the plasma protein. So how can it be, sir? How can it cross the? So I, from this concept, I mean that I will have blood vessel, blood vessel restricted drug. So my drug is remaining restricted to my blood vessel, isn't it? So can I say, so can I say, can I say with high ppb, I have higher duration of action? Can I say I have higher duration of action? Drug is more remaining in the circulation in the vascular compartment. That means the duration will be more. The duration of action of the drug will be more. Can I say high ppb drugs have less volume of distribution? Can I say high ppb drugs have lesser volume of distribution? Okay. Can I say if a drug is having a higher ppb, it will be more prone to interactions, other drug interactions, more prone to drug interactions which are competitors of this drug? Can I say, can I say ppb, higher ppb drugs will not be, we won't be able to remove them by, if we have a poisoning of a high ppb, we will not be able to do dialysis, isn't it? We can't prevent the poisoning of those drugs by dialysis. We can only, because the free state of the drug is only being, filtered by the kidney, isn't it? So a drug, if it is highly ppb, if it is having the high plasma protein binding capacity, it means the dialysis will not work for those drugs. I will have an ineffective dialysis. Because dialysis, what is the principle behind dialysis? Dialysis does not filter your proteins. So if I have a drug which is more attached to proteins, I won't be able to filter them, meaning thereby they will remain in the circulation. Come what may, you do anything, they won't get filtered, meaning thereby they won't be able to get, you can't remove them by dialysis. Also, if you have a poisoning of a drug which is highly ppb, you won't be able to remove them by dialysis. Okay, won't be able to remove them by dialysis. Okay, so remember, only drugs which are in the free form, if a drug is in the free form in the circulation, I will be able to do dialysis of the drug. Okay, so can I say beta, for example, I take verapamil. So if I have a verapamil toxicity, I won't be able to do dialysis. I have a benzodiazepine poisoning, for example, diazepam. I won't be able to do dialysis. I have an organophosphate poisoning, OP poisoning. I won't be able to do dialysis. I have I take amphetamines. If I have a poisoning of amphetamines, I won't be able to filter them. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and next part will be discussed in the next video, part 3. Okay. Thank you.